Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English story. Anger. Anger was a constant companion in my life. I didn't realize how deeply it had taken root until one day I looked in the mirror and saw a version of myself I didn't recognize. Someone whose eyes burned with frustration, whose clenched jaw and tense shoulders had become the norm. It wasn't always this way. As a child, I was quick to smile and even quicker to laugh. But as I grew older, the world seemed to take more from me than it gave. My dreams felt crushed under the weight of expectations, disappointments, and misunderstandings. Every time I felt ignored or judged, a small spark of anger would ignite inside me, and before long, it would spread like wildfire. The problem with anger, I learned, was that it was a fire that burned not just the things around you, but you as well. It made me quick to react and slow to think. It built walls between me and the people I cared about, and it clouded my judgment in ways I couldn't control. One day, after a particularly heated argument with a close friend, I realized something profound. My anger wasn't just affecting my relationships, it was controlling my life. I didn't want to be the person who reacted first and regretted later. I didn't want to let every moment of frustration define me. The turning point came during a late-night walk. I had just had another argument with someone I loved, and I was filled with regret, yet still consumed by that familiar fire. The streets were quiet, and the cold night air nipped at my skin, but it couldn't cool the heat inside me. As I walked, I began to ask myself the hard questions. Why do I feel this way? What's really fueling this anger? I realized that much of my anger wasn't about the present moment. It was about all the past moments I hadn't processed. The broken promises, the misunderstandings, the disappointments that had accumulated like a stack of heavy stones in my heart. I stopped walking and leaned against a tree, taking deep breaths. For the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to feel the weight of it all. I didn't push it away or try to ignore it. I let myself experience the anger fully, not to fuel it, but to understand it. That night, I came to a realization. Anger wasn't an enemy. It was a signal. It was telling me that something inside needed healing, that something in my past was unresolved. Anger, I learned, was a natural response to feeling hurt, but it didn't have to control me. It could be transformed if I allowed it. The next day, I made a conscious decision to change how I responded. I stopped reacting impulsively to situations that triggered anger. Instead, I gave myself time to pause and think before speaking or acting. I started journaling my thoughts and emotions, using it as a way to release pent-up frustration. And I sought out therapy, something I had always avoided, but now recognized as a way to help me process those years of unresolved pain. A few weeks later, I faced a situation that would have once sent me into a rage. Someone cut me off in traffic, and I felt the familiar heat rise within me. But this time, instead of reacting with a honk and a glare, I took a deep breath. I remembered my journey toward understanding and transforming my anger. Instead of lashing out, I simply let the moment pass. The anger still lingered, but I didn't let it control me. I recognized it, accepted it, and then chose peace. It wasn't easy, but I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced before. I continued on my journey, learning how to channel my anger into productive ways of self-reflection and growth. Slowly, I began to notice changes in myself. My relationships improved because I was no longer quick to react. I became better at communicating my feelings without letting anger take the lead. Over time, I realized that anger didn't have to be something I fought against. Instead, it became a tool, one that allowed me to understand myself better, heal old wounds, and move forward in a healthier, more peaceful way. Moral: anger is a natural emotion, but it doesn't have to control us. It can be a signal that something needs attention or healing. By understanding and processing our anger, rather than reacting impulsively, we can transform it into a tool for growth and healing, leading to better relationships and inner peace. As the months passed, I found myself in situations that once would have triggered my anger, but now I could face them with calmness. I had learned to listen to my emotions, not as commands, but as messages about what was truly going on inside me. The more I practiced self-awareness, the less I felt controlled by that fiery reaction. It wasn't that anger never came up. Still did, but it had less power over me. The key was in how I responded. Instead of letting it dictate my actions, I took a step back, gave myself time, and chose peace over eruption. I found that when I acknowledged my anger without acting on it impulsively, it began to lose its intensity. What surprised me the most was how liberating this new approach was. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. By transforming my relationship with anger, I had unlocked a new freedom, a freedom to live without the constant burden of emotional explosions. And so, I continued my journey, not as someone who denied their anger, but as someone who had learned to understand it, respect it, and move beyond it. My life wasn't perfect, but it was far more peaceful. My relationships thrived because I wasn't bringing the baggage of unresolved frustration into every interaction. I had learned the most important lesson: that peace isn't the absence of anger, but the ability to manage it, learn from it, and ultimately, let it go. Moral: true peace comes not from suppressing our emotions but from understanding and mastering them. Anger, like all emotions, can be transformed when we choose to face it with patience and wisdom, turning it into a source of growth instead of destruction. Thank you for following the story. I'm glad we could explore the journey of overcoming anger together. I'm so glad you spent this time with me. If you liked the story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Take care, and see you next time. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English story.